Hi and welcome to the lesson where we are going to see how the way you writing data to the streaming broker may impact the data quality. We're going to talk about delivery semantic, and the semantic you choose to implement, or you have to implement because you have no other choice, the framework simply imposes you that, will often define the first data quality issues you may have in your dataset. To understand it better, let's see the different delivery semantics. The first of them is called at least once, meaning that each record is delivered at least once to the destination. So here you can see that we delivered the record number 1 and 2 twice, potentially because of some failure in the middle of the delivery. So it leads to duplicates. That's the key word. And how does it what happens? It happens when you acknowledge the data generation after writing all records. So here we can imagine that we have two tasks writing these four records, two records each, and in this scenario we confirm the writing only when we got the confirmation for the number 4. And it happens that in the first delivery we only had the delivery successful for the 1 and 2, and 3 and 4 failed, so that we had to retry and reproduce and duplicate these two records. The opposite is at most once. So when the previous thing happens, we simply have some missing data, so data loss, and here we acknowledge the writing before getting the success response of the streaming broker. So here we can suppose that we are delivering the record number 1, and before getting the successful response of the streaming broker, we say, okay, this record has been delivered. The same for the record number 2. And it turns out that the delivery for these two first records failed, and so that and automatically we don't have them in our data storage. And there is a perfect case called exactly once. It's the Sand Graal for the data delivery, because we always have each record delivered only once. So here there is no data quality issues, but it's challenging to implement on top of a streaming broker because it requires a transaction mechanism. Generally, you say that you are starting the transaction with the first record and you committing this transaction in the delivery of the fourth record. So let's see this a little bit more with pictures, because with words is fine, but I think that it will be a bit more clear if we have some visual representation. So here we have at least once delivery. We have two tasks, each processing two records. And now we can suppose that the first task succeeded, but the second task executed in parallel failed. And our data processing framework supports retries, but it supports retries only for the whole jobs. And in that case, it restarts with the task 1 and with the task 2 that this time succeeds, and that's the way we end up with duplicates. For the at most once, how does it work? We have something which is called checkpoint storage that remembers the processed record. So here we have the record number 1. We store it to the checkpoint storage and to the streaming broker. Later, the same happens for the record number 2, but for the record number 3, the delivery failed. And even now, if you restart your data processing framework, restarts the whole job, so the 4 records, you will see that thanks to this checkpoint storage, the data processing framework will simply ignore the first 3 records, even though only 2 of them were successfully delivered. And that's the whole idea. And the exactly once, that's maybe the most exciting from the engineering perspective. We have our bunch of records, and as I said before, instead of delivering data first, we send a metadata request to the streaming broker saying that, hey, I'm going to open a new transaction. Please keep this transaction open. So the data processing job remembers the transaction ID, streaming broker agent keeps this transaction open for new data, and later data processing jobs delivers data inside this transaction, and when an error happens, it retries. So this time the retry logic is very rudimentary because very easy and straightforward. The data processing job simply opens a new transaction. So the data from the T1 is not and will not be visible because it's not possible to close this transaction by the data processing job since it already has a new transaction open. And this time it will work the same way, except that for the record number 3, it will deliver it successfully and continue with the record number 4. And later it will send a final request to the streaming broker to commit this transaction, and as a consequence make all this written data visible to the consumers. And I hope that thanks to these visual representations of delivery semantics, you have now a better idea how are the data quality issues you might have depending on the semantics in your data ingestion. Thanks for watching and see you in the next lesson.